Today we're going to learn about using the distributive property in algebra to solve equations. Okay, so like I said, the best way to learn this stuff, I think, is just to do it. So let's say we have -6, and then we're going to draw some parentheses, and inside the parentheses is 5x minus 5, and then we'll close up the parentheses, and that equals a -60. Okay, now I'll show you a couple of ways to solve these particular ones, but we're going to focus on using the distributive property. Okay, what in the world is that? Well, it's a fancy math name for what's going to happen here. Now you'll notice that the number here, the -6, and then there's a parentheses, and then there's stuff inside the parentheses. And notice that they're real scrunchy close like that. And we said before that if a number and a letter are scrunchy close, that means you're multiplying. And it's the same idea with numbers and parentheses. If they're scrunchy close like this, it means you're multiplying. So the distributive property means we're going to distribute, just like your teacher might distribute pencils or tests or something like that. And everybody gets a test, all right? So we'll pretend that the -6 is the test. And inside here are the students. There's only 2 students, kind of a small class. But everybody gets a test. This student here, 5x, gets a test. And this student here, now, remember how we talked about be careful what's in front of numbers. The second student in our goofy class here is -5. So we're going to multiply -6 times 5x, so that's going to be -30x. Okay, remember, just worry about the numbers and the letter kind of tags along. But now we're going to multiply -6 times a -5. And a negative times a negative is a positive, so that's going to be a +30. And then that still equals -60 over here. Now you see what we've done? We got rid of the parentheses, which is one of the big golden rules in algebra. One of your first steps ought to be is getting rid of parentheses. Actually, the very first step, you know what the most important step in mathematics is, especially this type of math, is to write down the problem correctly. Trust me, that's one of the biggest, most important steps in mathematics, especially when test time rolls around. Make sure you write, even if you had to check twice, make sure you copied it down on your piece of paper correctly. That's number one. Number 2 is get rid of the parentheses. Okay, so now we talked about in a previous video, a lot of this stuff is just stuff we've already learned. We're just learning a new thing, the teacher distributing the tests, and now we have an equation like we've been working with. So we can build our fence, and this, let's see, this +30 is going to jump the fence over here and become a -30. I guess we'll keep it in red for a little bit. And so, boom, she's gone. And she went over here. And remember, when they jump the fence, they become negatives. So or they change signs, I'm sorry. If it's positive on this side of the fence, it'll be negative over here. So that leaves us with -30x equals -90. Okay, don't forget to make sure your operations with integers are good and solid, because like I said, once we start climbing the ladder of fancy algebra, you're going to be using them all the time, and you need to be very comfortable with them. Okay, now we'll divide by exactly what is in front of the letter. And in this case, it's a -30. So we'll divide both sides by -30. And boom, baby, these are gone. We're left with x, just what we want. And -90 divided by -30, we can use our zero trick. Remember the zero trick? If there's one on top and one on the bottom, let them go. It helps your mind. Instead of thinking 90 and 30, geez, those are big numbers. Now we can think, well, -9 divided by -3, and that's a little bit more manageable brain-wise. And that is our answer, x equals 3. Now I'm going to show you a little trick for it just applies mainly for these types of equations. All right, let's build a different wall. Let's say we take the same problem and, well, let me write it down again. But we don't generally use this technique too much because these distributive property type equations get a little trickier as we go along. So I'll just show you this so you can, if you're creative, you can maybe spot this yourself. Notice, as we said, the -6 and this 5x minus 5 in parentheses, well, that's multiplication. So believe it or not, we can divide both sides by -6. You're probably gonna like this. We're gonna divide both sides by -6. So look what happens. Boom, baby, these are gone. We're left with the parentheses stuff, and we can just shed the parentheses because there's really nothing to do with them now. So you can keep them if you want, but there's no really reason to. And -60 divided by -6 is every day 10. And now look at the type of equation we have. Easy peasy. This jumps, so we get the -5 jumps, so we get 5x equals 10 plus 5. I'll write plus 5 over here just so we're clear. And that gives us 15. So now we divide both sides by 5, of course. And look how easy. We have x equals 3. Isn't that cool? Kind of a nifty technique to use, but it really just applies for this type of stuff. But it's still fun. All right, let's try one more. I think we're getting it. So we have -3 this time, and then parentheses. Oh, whoa, well, that's a lousy parentheses. Let's try a different one. There we go. Oh, Lord have mercy. I have to get one of those pad things to write this. All right, sorry, 6x. I'm just using my mouse, and that's not really professional, is it? Anyway, so 6x plus 4 in parentheses equals 42. Oh boy. All righty. Okay, so what do? We're going to distribute. So -3 times 6x is -18x. And a -3 times a +4 is a -12. And that still equals 42. Okay, let's build our optional fence here. I just like it sometimes. It just seems to make things easier. But that's me. Okay, well, this will jump the fence and over here become a +12 because it was a -12 over there. So that gives us -18x on this side of our fence equals, what's 42 plus 12? Well, that's not too bad. That's 54. We will divide both sides by exactly what is in front of the letter, and that, of course, is -18. So there we go. And then we end up with x equals -3. And that's all there is to it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video, and good luck with your studies.